This right here is the all-new HP Pavilion 14 that comes equipped with the all-new 11th Gen Intel Core i processors coupled with the Intel Z graphics. Now, in my opinion, the Pavilion lineup has always been synonymous with students who are looking for a good laptop that also looks good, is in their budget and has some decent specs. So does the Pavilion 14 2021 edition live up to the hype and the overall reputation that HP has created with the Pavilion lineup, or is this a disappointment? Let's find out. This is Varun from Guiding Tech and you're watching my in-depth review of the HP Pavilion 14. Let's get started. Alright, so right off the bat, let's talk about the design first. And see, HP sent us the tranquil pink version here. And I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very subtle. I mean, I was expecting it to be very pinkish, but I kind of like this color. I mean, I won't deny the fact that yes, if I were to buy it with my own money, I would probably go for the silver or the white variant, but this thing is not that bad either. The overall design is quite minimalistic and pretty similar to previous HP laptops, which isn't really a bad thing. It's subtle, has that shine that makes it look slightly premium, but at the same time isn't that expensive. As for the build quality, don't be deceived by the finish, it's a plastic build after all. However, to HP's credit, they have managed to eliminate any sort of flex in here. And a major part of that is due to this hinge right here. Now, if you've been following HP's laptops in the past couple of years, you know that their hinges haven't been something that has been very sturdy. I mean, most of the HP laptops that I've seen break down after a couple of months have always broken down from the hinges. I'm happy to say that the hinge on this one is pretty sturdy and pretty robust, so that's a good sign. There's not a lot of flex under the keyboard either, which is something that I definitely like. Now, in terms of I/O, you get a 3.5mm headphone jack and a super speed USB Type-A port on the left side, while over to the right side you have a barrel plug charging port, full-size HDMI 2.0 port, another super speed USB Type-A, followed by a super speed USB Type-C port and a microSD card slot. Now, while the Type-C port isn't Thunderbolt, it does support USB power delivery and DisplayPort 1.4. The fact that this laptop supports USB power delivery is something that I definitely appreciate quite a lot, but it just baffles me more that if it supports USB power delivery, why are you shipping it with a barrel plug? What's the point of that? The whole idea of USB PD is to eliminate those different proprietary chargers and just use USB-C that's universal. I mean, it does come with USB PD. HP could have just provided a USB-C charger. This is really baffling. Now, on the whole, I don't have much complaints from the laptop. I mean, yes, the bezels could be a bit slimmer considering this is the laptop in 2021, but then again, considering the price point, it's something I can make do with. Now, inside those bezels is the gorgeous 14-inch display. This is a full HD IPS panel which is equal parts good and bad. Let's talk about the positives first. The panel is anti-glare and has a 178-degree wide field of view, so that's good. Unfortunately, the panel does not get too bright at just 250 nits and isn't really that color accurate either. I mean, it should be fine for your basic photo editing, and while you can technically use it outdoors thanks to the anti-glare coating, the brightness in itself will be a limiting experience. Now, it goes without saying that this is a 60Hz refresh rate panel. However, when you put it to power saving modes, it automatically drops down to 40Hz and not the 48Hz that we usually see. But here's a thought. If you're a student who's buying it for coding or using office apps and just want the best battery backup, well, maybe you could create a custom power profile for yourself where the performance is set to max while you manually switch the refresh rate to 40Hz. Trust me, your overall performance will not be hampered in any way. You won't even notice. I mean, you will notice, but you won't notice it to that great extent the change in the refresh rate, and you will easily get another half an hour to 40 minutes of battery backup. Just something to ponder upon. Okay, so moving along, we have the keyboard, and for the most part, I genuinely enjoyed typing on this. The layout is just perfect for a typist like me, and I had absolutely zero issues adapting to it. I'm someone who appreciates having full dedicated keys for home and end, and I know most coders will appreciate it too, so there's that. Now the key travel here is good, and the feedback is nice and soft too. One complaint that I did have from this, however, is the lighting. I mean, it was pretty obvious from the get-go that white backlight on a silver keyboard is never going to work, and that's still the case here. Sure, you can get the job done, but it's not ideal for sure. Unfortunately, even the other color variants of the laptop have a light color keyboard only, so it's something you'll have to live with. Now below the keyboard we have the touchpad, which is fairly big enough to accommodate all 5 fingers of my large hands. Palm rejection works very well on this, and I faced no ghost touches. The gestures also worked very well, so that's good. There's also a fingerprint scanner right next to it, and with Windows Hello, I was able to log in quite quickly. As for the webcam, we have a 0.9 megapixel webcam here, and the footage here is very grainy. I mean, the frame rate seems fine, no issues there, but the footage overall is quite grainy. As for the audio, this footage is directly from the webcam, so you can see and judge for yourself about the webcam quality as well as the audio feedback that you're hearing from the mic. Speaking of audio, the sound setup here is from Bang & Olufsen, and to be honest, I don't really care about branding. It's all about the overall experience for me, and at the end of the day, when you're using this on a flat surface, the audio sounds good, but use it anywhere else and the audio is quite muffled. It's still decently loud, but the experience isn't that great. Okay, so now let's talk about performance. So our unit here comes equipped with an 11th gen Intel Core i5 1135G7 processor coupled with 16GB of dual channel DDR4 RAM clocked at 3200 MHz. We get the Intel Z graphics for GPU along with a 512GB NVMe SSD for storage. Overall, this seems like a bang-on package for its price, and it definitely shows. The laptop flies through day-to-day tasks easily without any stutters or issues. The RAM here is DDR4 and not low power, which definitely helps in better multitasking. See, my normal usage was juggling through 20 plus tabs in Microsoft Edge, listening to Spotify, making thumbnails on Photoshop, and watching a YouTube video or a show on Netflix. All throughout, I faced zero issues whatsoever. Now I know that students love to play games on the sides as well, and I would have loved to say that yes, you can play some games on this, but unfortunately I can't make that statement exactly. I mean, yes, you can play games like Valorant or Rocket League on this, they run fine at 60 FPS, it's not that. It's just that the overall form factor and the way it handles thermals is not that good, and this thing does get hot, and then there's throttling in the performance. So while your initial gameplay might seem fine, play your game for 15-20 minutes and you'll definitely notice that throttling experience. So there's that. Sure, you can drop the resolution down to 720p and play a match or two on this, but at the end of the day, the bottom line still remains that this is not a gaming laptop. You can get budget gaming laptops around this price tag, and we will have a video coming up for that pretty soon. But for now, let's just be clear, this is not a gaming laptop. Now, digging inside this laptop is not an easy task either. You have to remove the 2 rubber strips to uncover the hidden screws, and even then this thing is sealed super tightly that will need a pair of prying tools to actually open it up. Once inside, you can see that the laptop is cooled by a single fan and a single heat pipe. That being said, in terms of upgradability, the HP Pavilion 14 definitely scores some points. You can change the RAM as well as the SSD and even the Wi-Fi card. Lastly, there's the battery life. As you can see, you get a 43 watt battery on board, and in my testing I got about 5.5 hours from this machine with mixed usage, which is decent considering the price point. Sure, you can maybe get up to 6 or 6.5 hours if you run purely on battery saving profiles, but that's not the way most folks use their laptops. Anyway, for charging, HP provides a 65 watt power brick, which juices this up in a little over an hour. That's quite fast, though if I were you, I would just get a good USB-C power adapter and just use it to charge the laptop as well as my smartphone and everything else. I mean, HP could have provided us with one, and since they're not, you can check out my recommendation, which is having a XP60 charger from AMX India. Links down below, you can check it out. So, is the HP Pavilion 14 worth it? Well, our unit here is priced at around 69,000. Nice. Though Amazon usually retails it on sale for about 65,000. And for that price, this is a very good deal. Now, I won't deny that for about the same price, you have options from Dell Inspiron and Asus VivoBooks that offer pretty much the same package. And at the end of the day, it just boils down to the overall experience. I have to say the typing experience on this has been great, but you can get a much better display on Asus or even better on Dell, so there's that. As for the overall performance, it's going to be same, approximately the same across the board. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's your personal choice, whichever option you go for. With that being said, the HP Pavilion 14 is still a very good option to be considered, and something to be noted is that it's far more secure as compared to other options. So there's that as well. Nonetheless, if you're still considering the Asus VivoBook, we already have a review video of that with the new 11th gen processors live on our channel, so you can check it out from here or from the links down below. Lastly, if you like this video, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Vam from Guiding Tech, and I'll see you in the next one.